Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Coach Jones Show. I'm Adam Bell with Charlton Sportsnet, along with Sammy Hendricks and Indians football head coach, Coach Jones. Sammy?
All right, Coach. First of all, right off the bat, we spoke about it Friday night, but congratulations on the first win of the season. Indians 1-0. We know this is not your first win as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what your emotions and feelings are with a new team as being head coach as a new team.
God, it was almost euphoric. I mean, you look at the atmosphere. My daughter's birthday is her second birthday is on the game day, so having her around and have my wife there. It's almost surreal. If I can bottle up several little moments and kind of have them to, remember the rest of my life, I would. But it was just amazing. I think that the icing on the cake for the night is watching all the students and the families and our players just have this gleam in their eye that can only come from winning. And so it was just an absolutely wonderful night when you bring all the storylines together, and into one event. So very, very proud of our kids and community, but it was special for a lot of reasons.
Coach, as soon as you walked into the stadium, if you're a football fan, you noticed that a lot of energy by the team on Friday night. What did you learn about your team Friday night?
We were nervous in pregame. I don't know if a lot of people knew that. I went around to all of our coaches and hey, let's get them through pregame. Let's get them inside. A lot of people, that's our first time practicing how we do pregame, and it really isn't. We're really not out there a long time. I believe in, getting them going, getting them moving, and then getting back inside and doing the little things, hydration-wise and nutrition-wise that we do before games. And so I could tell that they were nervous, a little jittery, but nothing where, there was any fear about the moment that was getting ready to come. And so came in, had a nice, team talk before we went out, and then everything happened from there. But I knew there were some nerves, and it was, more than just first game nerves. It was, okay, this is our first time doing this all together, and I don't want to mess anything up, and so I was very proud of how they came and responded. Obviously, when we come to run out and everybody's doing the war chant, it was just an amazing sight to see.
With all the emotions flying high and all the feelings and all the nerves and everything going on, you're sitting over there on the sideline from opening kickoff thinking, 2 or 3, 4 plays ahead of time, what you going to do if this happens, what you going to do if that happens. How did you see the game from your vantage point on the sidelines?
Well, from the time it starts for me. Our kids know this. When we run out, I tell them we grade how we even run out of the banner. I told them I don't want to see anybody walking. That is a tradition thing here, and we're not going to step on or disrespect tradition. So from the time we run out until the game is over with, I'm coaching my tail off. So I don't really pay attention all too much to what's necessarily coming next, more so than, hey, it's third down, I know we got to get the punt team ready, or it's, second down and, we may be backed up, and I'm talking to Coach Mays or our offensive coaches about, hey, be prepared to go for it on fourth down, or we're on defense and, we gave up a big play really early before Brandon Willard's interception. And so that's one of those moments where I knew it in my head. I didn't necessarily share it with Coach Simmons because I didn't want him to have to worry about doing it. But I said the first big play that we give up, that was a scripted timeout, and that's something we've practiced at practice. So it wasn't foreign. As soon as they threw that ball deep, and I knew it was a bust and it wasn't them just making an amazing play, timeout. And so it wasn't foreign. And, the next play I think the next couple of plays, we're fortunate enough to be in position to get an interception. So it was almost weird, Sammy, not playing a scrimmage and not having played an actual spring game. Everything that kind of happened throughout the game, at least in the first half, we had kind of prepared for, so it was weird. But very, very, very proud that at least when the moment came, we somewhat executed closely to, what we've been practicing.
Well, it's kind of one of those situations where you can scrimmage, practice, but when you get into real game time, atmosphere is a lot different. I mean, just things you start thinking about a lot more. Well, we should have done this during scrimmage, or we should have done this. There's a lot more to think about during game time.
Yeah, so it's just like life. I mean, we practice so many things that we're going to do in life, and then life throws you a curveball. You better be ready to, do something different. So, again, we practice a lot of things, and some things we did exceptionally well. Some things we did at, an average or close to above average, and some things we just need a lot of work in. It may be blind, to folks watching the game saying, yeah, come on, Coach, you win the game, the way we want it. But I still see we had 2 touchdowns called back on offense, had a special teams touchdown called back, all correctable mistakes. And so when you look at those things, outside of those things, but a play here, a play there, and the consistent mistakes that we're making, you've got a lot of room to grow.
Right. Coach, just, we'll dive into some numbers real quick, and my numbers might not be 100% correct, but I think they're pretty close. Anytime you look at your total offense, yardage on offense, I had 379 yards total offense for the team. 295 of that was on the ground, 84 through the air. And when you see 379 yards of offense or thereabout, you got to look back and see what a great job your offensive line done, blocking for your running backs and blocking for the quarterbacks to be able to throw the ball.
Well, it was, and I've gotten this comment probably more than anything, just complimentary of how our offensive line look, how they address the line and, come out of the huddle. And so you don't start talking about how we were able to run the ball Friday night unless it starts with those guys up front and our tight ends and anybody who's, obviously involved in our run scheme. And obviously we're fortunate. We've got some backs that are, pretty special. But it doesn't start unless there's somebody up there setting it at the point of attack. So very, very proud of those young men. We, on the morning announcements at school, we made sure to give the offensive linemen their love too, because they had such a big hand. And what I'm really, really proud of is, the majority of those names are young names. And out of that, a good number of those names are, brand new bodies to us, not necessarily to football here in Charlton County, but to Charlton County High School. So that was encouraging. But you don't start talking about the night we had unless you give it to the offensive line. They deserve all the love. Hats off to our backs, playing hard and hitting the holes, but our offensive line helped pave the way.
Right. I had 6 different players either part of or scoring on the offense. And, to me, looking at that, that's just I guess an attaboy to you guys as coaches, and to be able to get, or you just got that many good athletes, to be able to get those guys in there and get them playing time to give everybody a chance to get in the end zone like these guys did on Friday night.
Yeah, something, we started talking in the offseason when I first got here and was looking for an offensive coordinator, and that's something Coach Meza really, really harped on is, we want to get multiple guys involved, and it makes it better when they're skilled. And so all of our guys kind of have something special and unique that they bring to the table. I think it's, obviously up to us to be able to get the ball in their hands in specific situations. And then sometimes it's just, by sheer happenstance, that's the guy that's in next. And so we're always looking for creative ways to, not necessarily take away from what we do as a base, but to get the ball in the hands of the guys that we know. And I'll say this about getting the ball in the hands of folks. We're going to continue to develop that amongst the guys on our team. So just because you didn't see a certain person carry the ball last week doesn't mean you won't see it this week
right.
or another week. And so that's what makes you special, single A special. I mean, everybody's got to be able to do multiple things, and you just never know who you're going to see where. And so it's fun as a coach because it's stuff we've been practicing since early summer.
Well, you spoke earlier about the 2 touchdowns that were called back, 1 special team on offense. One thing that I think makes a really good ball team, I think Brandley County had 6 turnovers Friday night, and anytime you can get 6 turnovers on team and take advantage of that and score, makes you a real good ball team.
Yeah, and I'll say this on defense. You look at some turnovers are self-inflicted on the offense. You can go back and say, ball security, and then some are forced. And so the majority of ours were true forced fumbles. It's not something that we necessarily are beating our head over. It's a small portion of what we do defensively throughout the day in practice, but it obviously played off on Friday. But the main reason why you force turnovers are guys are playing extremely hard. So you go back and look at plays where a fumble occurs and a guy's, punching or poking the ball out. That's that guy giving exceptional effort. What's even more beautiful to see is that there's more black helmets around to recover the ball. And so, you said something earlier. It was 2 offensive touchdowns and a special teams touchdown. So you're talking about 3, and then we know earlier in the game we ended up scoring, but Sam, there was one, wide open. If we could have had back, would have been another touchdown. So not anything. I think for Charlton County fans, it's probably long overdue. But from the coach's perspective, we're happy we won the game, the way we won it. I mean, but the kids still had to come out. And at halftime, we were up 23 points. And most coaches or folks, fans, go in there and say, hey, it's a 0-0 game. And I think that's the complete opposite of how you need to approach the situation. It's not 0-0. You need to play like you're up. And I said it to Mr. Doggett coming in. I really wanted – I mean, we're at the point now where, we got our foot down on the gas. Let's not take it off from the standpoint of when we go out, whether we're running the ball every single play or we're going to throw it every single play, our job on offense is to score points. Yeah. And so on defense, our job is to stop folks and get the offense the ball back. And so I was proud of how our kids handled halftime and how they come back out and played.
Looking at the defense side of the ball, I had us giving up 271 yards of offense against Brantley, 163 on with rushing and 180 on with passing the ball. The defensive line did a great job of keeping the Hendricks kid in and out of the pocket most of the night. He scrambled just about every play. In the secondary, minus a couple throws down the field, played exceptional defense, I believe.
Yeah, we did. I think when you look at, how do we grow defensively, we had some alignment and, issues that are, common first game of the season. But again, it shows you the growth and, the maturity of our football team. They were upset, that we gave up so many yards, not in a bragging type of way, but it was more so about, we went over these situations, we went over these scenarios, we got too caught up in the moment and didn't recognize that this guy was here, or, we didn't recognize the formation, and so we got to do better at that. And so that's an area that we've really harped, and I think we've done some things coaching-wise to maybe, help incentivize it for our kids. And so our kid, that's what I was proud of. You talk about, the number of yards we gave up and how our guys played. They want to play better, and that's wonderful because after a big win, I got some calls and talked to some guys that are mentors of mine in the profession, and you just wonder about how you go and approach things, with a team. But it's kind of similar to when I was growing up, Sammy, and my mom and dad, we do something really good. They reward us, but we knew where my family grew up, it was the expectation. You're supposed to do good. So act like you've been here before and go do it again, and we'll celebrate you again. So I'm very, very proud of how our kids have handled the week up until now. We've had a great day yesterday. We had some weather stuff, but we weathered that storm, and then we're able to practice. And then we had a really, really good physical knockdown of a practice because, we're going to have that kind of game this week.
Right. You mentioned earlier about the seeing all these different black helmets around the ball and around players. There was a few solo tackles Friday night were great plays, but what I was impressed with was gang tackling. I mean, it seemed like every time we tackled a running back or quarterback or somebody, there was 5 or 6, 7 players around the runner.
Yeah, well, it starts with effort. You can't tackle the ball carrier if you're not around the ball. Our kids they take pride of that in practice, but again, that goes back to what we challenge them to do every day in practice. And I think, my biggest concern as a coach is that we go out and do something that, we're not used to doing throughout the week, and we require them to run the ball in practice. And so I think it's, one of those muscle memorization things that, hey, I'm supposed to be near the ball when the play ends. And so very proud of that. But again, it goes back to what we're used to seeing our kids do every day. And it's not like we're perfect. It's not like we don't have days where, it's a little too hot, or I'm, not feeling well, or I don't feel like being where I'm at exactly at that moment, and we don't have to, challenge our kids to do better. Mm-hmm. Our kids make mistakes too, but it's how you handle those mistakes. It's how you handle that adversity. And they really perform from the standpoint of giving exceptional effort, and we're extremely proud of that.
Well, Coach, when we spoke as we started here about all the momentum that we had Friday night. Teams are hyped up, ready to go. Coaches are hyped up, ready to go. That showed in the ball game. We went out and got a big win. Kids were able to settle down a little bit through the weekend. How do you keep the momentum going starting yesterday throughout the rest of this week for Friday night?
It started Friday night before we left out of here. You know, when we got done with the alma mater, we come up and we're talking, and it was a extremely emotional moment for me. Because quite honestly, I dreamed about us having success a long time ago, and this is the part where I have to thank my wife. She will not allow me to be negative. My wife Terry is such a coach's wife. She's grown so much in this profession along with me. And I can't thank her enough because we dreamed of this special moment and it happened. And so it's just the thing about being, positive and uplifting. I've got that support system. Our kids have it. And so I knew before our kids left, I needed to kind of set the next week for them because this was, winning's one thing. You're used to doing that. You're at Charlton County, but winning big like this on the opening night, you couldn't have scripted it anymore. So we left with, hey, enjoy it tonight. Don't do anything to hurt yourself or hurt the football team. And then be thankful this weekend for whoever came to support you. And let's make sure we go on Sunday, like Sunday, me and my nephew and my wife and daughter and all of us, we were at church giving thanks, not for the big win that we had, but just giving thanks that, God brought us through the highs and lows of the week, right? And then on top of that, giving thanks for the journey that we've had to get to Friday night. And then come Monday, be ready to work. And I told our kids, I said, you can come in Monday ready to work, or you can come in Monday, with a lag, and I'll have to get your attention. And they all kind of smiled and laughed because they knew what that meant. And I don't want to have to get look, the more we can work and focus and study on who we're playing, and the less we have to correct negative attitudes, negative behaviors, the better off we're going to be. Hadn't had to do any of it. Our kids are hungry. They're ready. They're excited about this moment. They're excited about all the wonderful things, not necessarily the people are saying, but they're just excited for this moment. And so, we're going to ride this wave as long as it'll carry us.
Going back real quick to the offense side of the ball, we didn't throw a whole lot. I think we might have threw the ball 9 or 10 times throughout the whole game. What did you see out of A.J. and Aiden Friday night? We're not throwing the ball, but leading the offense.
Well, I thought both the quarterbacks managed the game while making plays, and so that there's something that you don't normally see. Two things go together. You either hear guys being labeled as a game manager, and then you'll hear guys, he's just a playmaker. And both of our guys made some plays. I saw them both. It's that little thing that, if you're up in the stands and you're just watching, you don't necessarily see. But we require our quarterbacks to do, more than just, call the play. And so, you think about a kid managing a huddle with 10 other people, having to make sure everybody's lined up. And from that standpoint, I was very, very happy that, for the most part, you see all of our receivers check with the official. You see them telling them who's on and who's off, and you see the linemen sprint up to the line, and they're down and they're doing their thing. And so that starts with our quarterbacks. And so both of them, Aiden and AJ, did a tremendous job. I'm so proud of both of them. It was more fun for me in the moment of the game when I actually got to stop and enjoy it like most coaches don't do enough of. And I've been guilty of that. When those guys scored, to come off and watch the smile in that child's eyes, that they, made a play, and it was our quarterbacks, our linemen, our running backs. And then, at the end of the game, we had a really special moment because our freshman, Austin Park, went out there and made an extra point, and everybody was just going crazy. So those are the things, you talk about the quarterbacks. They set that attitude and mentality for us on offense. The ball has to go through them, on every play. And so our success or failure, lies with them in the fact that we got to make sure everybody knows what they're doing.
Right. Well, Coach, before we dive into McIntosh real quick, this is one that's probably hard for you to come up with because it'll be hard for me to come up with. There was many players, but what player stood out the most to you in the game Friday night? Who really impressed you that you maybe thought wouldn't have impressed you and come out and just led the way for the team?
Oh, Sammy, all of them. Oh, man. When you're a new head coach, you feel like you know your team, and they surprised me with how they reacted to all of the newness, the way the sideline was organized, the way, just being in tune with the game and taking coaching during the game and making adjustments throughout the game. We had both of our running backs had good nights. The guys that scored the touchdowns had good nights. The guys who had the interceptions and the fumbles and the block kick had really good nights. But to single any one person out in that type of atmosphere, in that type of first game, when, if you were to poll 98, 99% wouldn't say, I saw that coming.
Right.
All of them get the game ball.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a good answer.
I
Coach.
answered your question.
Yeah, you did. All right, so let's dive into McIntosh real quick. And a lot stronger team this week than what we played last week against Brantley. I'm sure you've been able to watch, and you and the team have been able to watch a little bit of game film from last week's game that they played. What do you see that you expect out of McIntosh?
Well, they're really good on defense, and, they formation you quite a bit on offense. They're primarily wing tee up front, as far as blocking schemes are concerned. You got some athletes. Look, I think anybody that knows McIntosh Academy football, Coach Warren, this is his second stint over there. It's interesting. I was talking with him Sunday night, and he coached quite a few of my college teammates, and so I got a great deal of respect for him because they were really, really good players. I was at VSU, so no, they're going to play hard. They're as advertised on defense. This will be one of the better defenses that we play all season. So it presents its own set of challenges. But if you look at our schedule, it's kind of set up that way. After McIntosh, we've got Jeff Davis, who had a big win against Waco, and then after Jeff Davis is Yulee, who's a nice bigger school in Jacksonville. It's going to have some pretty good athletes, and then after them is Toombs County, is one of the top teams in their classification. So, this thing doesn't get easier, but what it does do is it gets us ready for region play. And so, I always make this statement that we will never concede defeat. We will never accept. In the eyes of a negative result, we would never concede defeat. And what that simply means is when we stumble, when we fall, we get up, we do our thing, and we get back in there. There's no backing down or backing up to anyone. And so, we're going to have to go over to Darien and be ready to play. What lets me know that our kids are at least in the right mind frame for that is we set the week with what this week was going to be. This is going to be a physical football game. The margin for error gets, even smaller than it was last week. So you're going to have to go over there ready to play. And so, so far so good. And so, I don't necessarily have any concerns to come say, I'm worried about this. Obviously, McIntosh does enough, defensively and does enough offensively that you better respect, the thises or the that's that make up what they do. But having our team ready to play mentally, having our team ready to play physically, that's our job, and that's what we better focus on more than anything else.
Right. Well, it's kind of almost like a tale of two different teams from this past Friday that's coming up Friday. For Brantley, you had to prepare for them throwing the ball and running the ball. McIntosh is, what I've seen and known from history, they're mainly a running game. How do you get ready differently during the week, or you got to prepare for both the throwing the game and the running game?
Well, we do probably as much, if not more, film and walkthrough. We're very creative in how we get to do all the things that we do. And I mean, Sammy, you and Adam, you probably have seen, we feed our players now. We're doing this hydration stuff. They do the ice baths. We do treatment with the guys throughout the week. We're doing a whole lot, and so we've got to be creative in how we get all that stuff done, and still making sure that we're on top of their grades and their behavior and whatnot. And so I don't necessarily think you prepare any differently in the fact that you may see more of one thing than you do another. But it's still, again, where I always worry about for our guys is, did we get them prepared to handle this? Now, McIntosh is going to show us something we didn't see, in the last couple of films that we've watched. It's just the make of good teams, and they're a good football team. we've got to be ready and prepared to handle that moment. And so, that's what I'm excited to see. We'll have some adversity just like we did this past Friday. I know it may be hard for people to think we may not necessarily have, but look, after you make a good play, it's sometimes just as hard to get up to go do it again because guys are so stuck on – they may be so stuck on what they just got done doing that their mind isn't focused on what's coming next. And so that's what we're always saying, play the next play. We say that whether it's a good or bad play. And so Friday we're going to get hit with some more adversity, but you know what? It's what we've been putting our kids through all off season. That's why we're excited. That's why we're excited about – the next opportunity to play.
Right. So, Coach, I got last question. I'll let you take over what you got over there. If you will kind of – and this has been asked to me 100 times, and I don't really understand a lot of it. I know some of it. Can you kind of, with the new regional alignments, in the point system this year, can you kind of explain to the people watching how that works this year with the points?
Yes, I think people are kind of jumbling up the regions. So our classification is still top 4 in the region. So the point stuff we don't need to worry about. Okay. That's probably the easiest way to get in there. I tried to kind of figure it out. Obviously, coming from Florida, I think the Georgia system's a lot better because you can look at the formula that the state uses to say that this number goes with this team, and this is how we calculate it. In Florida, they put out the rankings after a certain number of weeks and no explanation. And so not fun, but you don't know necessarily point-wise how to prepare other than to say, boys, we better win Friday.
So no points for playing a Jeff Davis or Yulee or a Camden, a bigger team.
Top 4 teams in our region.
Right.
Yep. So easiest way to explain it.
Okay, Coach, what you got there?
Nothing other than we kind of touched on it from this past week to put it to bed. We came in and we watched on offense and defense, and tomorrow's our special teams day to watch. But we came in and watched, not necessarily what we did good, because not everything we show is bad, right, when we watch film. But we came in and had a good film session. That's kind of how we want to handle Mondays. Some people bring their guys in on Sundays. Sundays is our day, after everybody's done church and eating with their families. Sunday is our day to prepare. And so we're able to get together and put together a good game plan, but talk about travel. And, our middle school coaches come and give us a report about how the middle school's doing. They've given us their roster, so we know who the guys that are making plays, and we know who the next linemen are, and that's kind of a thing that I wanted to do when I got here, so that we keep the continuity going with, hey, year in and year out in single A, you're not always going to have the linemen, you may not always have the skill, but we want to be so on top of our personnel that we know what pieces need to get plugged in where, so we never really fall off. We kind of reload, and that's really hard to say at a single A school, but it's possible as long as you kind of structure things that way. So we're trying to head in that direction. So I was very proud of our coaching staff from the standpoint of they come, they work every day, they work tirelessly. All of us are teachers in the school building, and so, we do have day jobs, and, we're educators first, and so then when it's time to be with our kids, it's like nothing can replace the time that I miss with my wife and daughter, right? Mm-hmm. But, my nephew's out here with us, and he was able to score a touchdown Friday later in the game, Trey. Yep. But being around these group of men, our coaches, our student managers, our kids, our football team, is so special because there's so many moments each and every day that just, make the hustle and bustle of being away from your family so much. It makes it a little smoother. It never takes that feeling away. But, the ultimate, success or failure that we'll encounter with our kids is whether or not we've prepared them for life. And the wins are a little, they're just a prize at the end of the game. But for me, did we educate them? Did we nourish them? Did we help make them a little bit more literate that week? And so I'm just proud, so very proud, not just necessarily the end result. I'm proud of the effort and the willingness to, accept the newness. Now, Sammy, next year, and years to come, we won't be talking about this. This will be what our kids expect. Right. But everything this year is essentially new, and how we handle it is a big determining factor of how successful we'll be. So, round one down, and we were successful, and I'm looking forward to see what our kids do this week. And there's a fine line at this level of football of how hard you push them. We don't just stand around and talk about it all week. We work, and we made the statement. We all repeated it 3 times today. We're not afraid of hard work, and we want more. And so it's one of those small little, probably crazy things to do at the end of practice, but it's a mentality, man. We come out here, we work. We're in South Georgia. We own the fact that it's going to be hot. We own the fact that we're not always going to be feeling well. But you know what? I've got a bunch of dudes around me that feel the same way, and we might as well, when the ball snaps, go do something about it. So very proud of our guys.
Okay. Coach, just real quick, I'm just going to mention the other teams that are playing this week. First of all, tough loss for the Maidens over in Clinton today. They lost 9-7. Tomorrow we got Maiden softball away. We got middle school football here tomorrow, and then Thursday JV game home against Hilliard. Right. Okay. Right. And that's pretty much the schedule for the rest of the week.
Coach, I wanted to ask you real quick before we get away. This past fall, I had you, when you first came in, we had you over on the basketball game for an interview, and you mentioned one of the things that drew you to Charlton County was the atmosphere over here on Friday night when you were back and you used to be with Turner County. Did Friday night live up to everything you expected out of the atmosphere that drew you to this location to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, when you're on the visiting side of this, you see the crowd and you see the band of pride and the cheerleaders and the way that people get, the fans and the folks that come together, the way that people get into the atmosphere, you can feel it in the air. And so I knew kind of what it would feel like being on this sideline this time. It was an experience. It started with the war chant and everybody getting up and going, and so I got into it myself. And I think the only thing was the lights. The lights are flickering, and we're trying to say, whether we're going for 2 or going for 1, and the lights completely cut out, and then they come on. They completely cut out, and I guess that's a good thing. That was probably the only thing that was kind of like, wow. But being in it at the time, I don't know that I so much really get to enjoy it, but I definitely felt the presence. I felt the fans cheering. I heard the cheerleaders. I heard the band. I heard our kids talking to one another, and they were happy during the game. They weren't, it wasn't like they weren't watching the game or they kind of shut it down. They were really into it, and so it lived up to it.
Oh, yeah. You've been here, 8-9 months. You've got a region trophy in the case over there for tennis, a state championship trophy over there for a track, and then your very first game on the football field, you put 61 on a border rival. What's next, Coach?
Oh, man. Well, listen. If you could script it any better, I'll pay you. But it's the kids, man. It's the kids and the group of people we got around them. We love on our kids. We're trying to help them see that there's not anything in this life that they can't do. And when you fall short of whatever it is you wanted, you go work harder and still chase that. And so it's not about me. I'm being used as a vessel to help these young people and the group of men that we have and ladies and all the folks that we have that make up Charlton County Schools. We want our kids to believe that their opportunities in this life are going to be limitless and there's not anything that they can't do. So why not challenge our kids to do more? Why not challenge them to be better? Why not see them how they're supposed to be and not how they currently are? At one point, we talk about this in church. At one point, we fell short, and somebody had to maybe nudge us a little bit. And so, we can't get so high and mighty to where we want the finished product. Now, it may take some coaxing and some molding and some shaping, but eventually our kids will get our point. We'll reinforce it. We'll do the things like the feeding and the hydrating and the just loving them in multiple ways. And eventually they'll get to where we want. We're on our way where we want to be. How fast we get there, it's the man above. So,
anything else, gentlemen?
Looking forward to everybody who's going to make the trip over. Let's support our maidens throughout the rest of the week with softball. We have a JV game here Thursday. It'll be the one and only home JV games. Looking forward to seeing our young guys get out there and compete. And then on Friday, for everybody that's going to make the trip over to Derry and just be safe and Bring your shakers, bring your cowbells, and cheer our boys on. They deserve it. They really, really do. They're working hard.
All right. You good, Sammy?
I'm good, Coach. Good luck Friday night.
I appreciate it.
Coach, thank you as always, man. Sammy, appreciate what you do for us too, man.
Go
All
try
right, we'll see y'all tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday.
Yep.
Right here on CSN. Thanks for watching the Coach Jones Show.